Okay, committee members, ladies and gentlemen, we're ready to try to get started here. Senator Wheeler be on his way in just a moment. We call to order the Senate Standing Local Government, State and Local Government Meeting number 3 of this week. Madam Clerk, if you could please call the roll.
Senator Alvarado.
Here.
Senator Harper Angel. Senator McDaniel.
Here.
Senator McGarvey.
Here.
Senator Schroeder.
Here.
Senator Southworth.
Here.
Senator Storm.
Here.
Senator Thayer.
Here.
Senator Wheeler. Senator Nemes. Senator Mills.
Here. We have 2 items on our agenda this morning. First item to be considered is the House Bill 2, which is the House redistricting map. Representative Miller is here to present it. Representative Miller, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for allowing me to speak to you on this fine, cold day. Due to starting months late due to COVID delaying the census, House Bill 2 is the result of 4 months of intensive work, discussions, and listening to stakeholders. I want to recognize their commitment to ensuring the redistricting process meets all legal requirements as well as our obligations to the state, people of this state. Everyone in these chambers is aware the Kentucky Constitution requires the General Assembly to redraw legislative districts' boundaries to reflect population shifts. Tedious, detailed work, as you all well know, and requires a thorough understanding of often conflicting legal and constitutional considerations. Kentucky Constitution and Supreme Court requirements are that state legislative districts be, quote, as nearly equal in population as may be, close quote. And plus, the Kentucky Constitution requires that the state legislative districts be contiguous and preserve whole counties as much as possible. Because the one person, one vote principle overrides the Kentucky Constitution requirement that we not split counties, our Supreme Court has interpreted this to mean that state legislative districts must divide the fewest number of counties possible, taking into account plus or minus 5% variation. And every district within our plan is within that limit. Areas experiencing growth are on the low side of the population average. Slower growing areas sometimes are higher than that to accommodate the needs of the growing populations. To understand why this is important, the gentleman, Representative Santora from District 60, and I both represent over 56,000 people, which is 11,000 more than what we should have. And we have 6 House districts that have less than 40,000 people. Under this proposal, Hopkins, Henderson, and Barron counties would become single county districts. Every single district is entirely contiguous and as compact as practicable given variables like topography and existing county precinct lines. The 2 primary requirements of equal population and not splitting counties mostly shape the map, but leave some room to account for other priorities. One priority, but not a requirement, is compactness. We thought it necessary to correct some of the egregious shaped districts in the last map to decrease the area that encompasses districts and keep socioeconomic communities of interest together. For example, the 21st district, Bart Rowland's district, would no longer extend from the Tennessee line to the greater E-Town, the E-Town area in greater Louisville. District 49 in Bullitt County will no longer look like an ink splatter. District 8 will no longer look like a dragon. Districts 41, 42, and 43 in Jefferson County will no longer snake across Jefferson County. We have a committed effort to meet all legal requirements again, while respecting and trying to keep socioeconomic communities of interest together. Based on the standard measures of compactness, Jefferson County's map, for example, is 30% more compact than the one we are currently operating under. We have preserved the integrity of the counties where possible, as I said, and we do not split a single precinct in our plan. Past plans submitted by the House have divided as many as 153 precincts. In terms of continuity, another consideration was preserving the continuity of representation where possible. That is allowing voters the opportunity to continue to choose their elected representatives that they elected. Drafting this plan was very difficult for us, especially in the Far East and the Far West, where there's been a lot of population loss, as well as parts of Louisville. As a result, we have two House districts, one in the East, one in the West, that each pit two Republicans against each other, and we have two House districts in Jefferson County that pit two Democratic House members together. In closing, I'd say the Voting Rights of 1969 is extremely important to us. The act expressly prohibits discrimination based on race and color. We did not use race as a factor in drawing the map or any district, but we have analyzed the result to ensure that it totally complies with the Voting Rights Act of 1969. I'm proud to present this map to you as House Bill 2.
Very good, Representative Miller. Thank you so much for that presentation. Members, are there questions or comments for Representative Miller? Okay, we have a motion, second, and Senator Southworth has a question.
Hey, you mentioned the Voting Rights Act, and I was wondering how many Voting Rights Act majority districts do we have in this plan?
We have 6 minority-majority districts in this plan.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and second on the bill. Any other questions or comments? Comment from Senator Wheeler.
Brief follow-up, Mr. Chairman. How many majority-minority districts were in the prior plan?
I believe there were 5. I could be wrong.
So we've actually increased the
we've
representation.
either increased or saved. And of course, we don't draw it on this basis, but in terms of black voting representation, there are now 4 districts in Jefferson County that are black majority in terms of voting age population. The previous map, we only had 2. So we have 4 black majority as opposed to the existing map of 2.
So the map drawn on the House actually reflects a greater diversity in the Commonwealth.
I
then.
would say so, sir.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Alvarado.
Aye.
Senator Harper Angel. Senator McDaniel.
Aye.
Senator McGarvey.
Explain my vote, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, you may.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I vote no on this map. No process is perfect. Certainly, I wish the House had taken more of a page from the Senate map in this regard, with more input from the minority, with more input from outside groups. You look at this, there are 23 maps split 79 ways on this map, whereas the alternative map only split them 60 ways. There are 51 single county districts. In the alternative map, this map only has 42 single county. So in other words, there's a lot of partisan drawing of these lines. It's pitting incumbents against each other necessarily, which I think we discussed yesterday on the Senate floor. The Senate president said that was one of the marks of the fairness of a map, and I think this map falls short of it. This deserves more time. It deserves more input. I vote no.
Senator Nemes. Senator Schroeder. Senator Southworth.
Split my vote, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, you may.
I'm going to vote no on this, but I have to say I am pleased to hear your presentation. I think it pretty much is my whole speech yesterday on Senate floor about the Senate map. And so I think those considerations beyond just the threshold minimum are super important, and I'm looking at all your population deviations here. And of course, in the House, you have a little more flexibility with more cuts than we have in the Senate, but overall, it's not a bad list. There's a few I would do differently. In fact, our Kentucky Constitution might be a little counterintuitive to what you mentioned as far as where we expect growth to happen and where we expect loss to happen. The Constitution says if there's going to be a disparity, then it needs to be found in favor of the people dealing with a larger geographic area, which in most cases means sparse population. And in our case, those are those eastern pieces, western pieces that are losing currently already. But because of the area, access to representation is more important under our Kentucky Constitution than the exact equivalency 9.5 years later. So for that reason, I'm voting no, but I am impressed with some of the comments today, and thank you for taking a variety of considerations into play as you're working on this, because we all know it's just a balancing of all those factors.
Senator Storm.
Explain my yes vote.
Yes, you may.
I am the senator from Laurel, and I greatly appreciate you all working on this. And, Laurel County had voiced that they were hopeful to get, 5 representatives perhaps, and there's 6, and I've met with each of these individuals. I've spoken with them, and I think all of them are going to work and be advocates for Laurel County and the region, and so I greatly appreciate your efforts here, and I look forward to working with these individuals. Thank you.
Senator Thayer.
Yes.
Senator Wheeler.
Aye.
Senator Mills.
I vote aye.
7-2.
Okay, House Bill 2 passes 7-2, and same shall pass on to the Senate floor. Representative Miller, thank you so much. The next item is House Bill 179, and Representative Jason Nemus, is here to present this bill. This bill deals with the Supreme Court district's redistricting efforts. Representative Nemus, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Section 110.4 of the Kentucky Constitution gives the right to redistrict the appellate court maps to the General Assembly. Again, it must be clearly stated that we're talking about the Supreme Court maps and the Court of Appeals maps that are within the prerogative of the legislature alone. We're not talking in this bill at all about the circuit court, family court, or district court maps. Those are in bills that will be filed later this year or be addressed later this year, in which case the General Assembly must work with the court system under the Constitution to rearrange or add or delete judges. We're not talking about trial court maps. We're talking about appellate court maps. The Court of Justice was founded in 1976 in Kentucky. We totally revamped the way we have our court system. And since then, we have not redistricted the appellate courts. So you can see, you can imagine what kind of problems that would cause. And so why are we here today? We're here today because the Kentucky Constitution requires us to, while not splitting any counties, try to get as close to population equality as we can. And we're not there because of not addressing this issue for over 40 years. For example, I'll go through the population numbers of the current maps, and you'll see the need. It'll be evident the need or the reasons why we need to do this. The first district has 525,000 people. The second district, 677,000 people. The third district, 580,000 people. The fourth district, 782,000 people. The fifth district, 740,000 people. The sixth district, 722,000 people. And the seventh district, 475,000 people. So you have from 475,000 to 782,000, obviously not coming close to population equality. And while population equality, unlike the maps that you guys passed for the Senate and that we've passed for the House, and now they went to the other bodies, one man, one vote is not exact because judges don't represent people. They follow the law, whereas we have to be much more exact in the one man, one vote according to United States Supreme Court principles or cases. So if you come from the mountains or you come from Northern Kentucky or Louisville and you're a judge, you don't rule on a case because it's better for the people in the mountains or better for the people of Louisville. You're supposed to rule on a case because that's the law that either the Constitution demands or that's the result that the Constitution demands or that the duly enacted statutes from the General Assembly demand. That's why one man, one vote principles don't apply as tightly for them as they do for us. I want to talk just quickly about county splits. The Constitution and both the legislature and the Supreme Court or appellate court maps say no counties can be split. And because, again, one man, one vote principles override for us, we have to split counties as few as possible, but we're not allowed to in the appellate court maps. Chief Justice Minton testified before the Appropriation and Revenue Committee this past summer, and I was talking about the maps. I represent Oldham County and Jefferson County and soon to be Shelby County, all three counties unfairly situated in the appellate court maps. And I said, I don't think it's fair that we can't split Jefferson County because Louisville is more than 1/7 of the population. We should split Jefferson County so Jefferson County can have its own seat and then also have a role in other seats. That would empower the people of Jefferson County. And Chief Justice Minton said, you may not split counties. So he reiterated that point. And I think he's probably right about that under the law, although I don't like it. It does inure to the benefit of Western and Eastern Kentuckians, though. So we don't split Jefferson County, and we have the remaining 6 districts very close in population. I wanted to mention just a few counties because these counties are extremely important, and then address very quickly Eastern Kentucky and Northern Kentucky, which are experiencing more changes than others in this map. Davis County goes from the second to the first. The first district right now is 475,000 people, so Davis County will go to the first, bringing them up to 622,000 with some other changes. And so that's one big change because a big county is going to the west, going to the first district. Also, Madison County. I wanted to talk about Madison County in context of Eastern Kentucky. Eastern Kentucky is picking up a number of counties, Senator Wheeler, and that's unfortunate because population is what it is. Initially, we had Madison County in the 7th district, and the thought process there was the 93,000 in Madison County. People in Madison County would enable us not to have to put more counties into Eastern Kentucky. Then I talked to the Court of Appeals judges and the Supreme Court justice and a number of legislators from Eastern Kentucky, and it was really important to them that we maintain the culture of Eastern Kentucky on the Supreme Court. While, again, they don't represent the people as much as they have to follow the law, it's important to have those types of views come to the equation. And if you have Madison County in the 7th, the thought is that it might overwhelm the rest of the population there and change the culture. So that's the reason that Madison County was put back into the Lexington district, and the unfortunate consequence is the 7th has to pick up a few more counties. All we think within the context of the community and the culture of our Eastern Kentucky brethren. Northern Kentucky is another place that has changes. I wanted to note, because there's some partisan nonsense going around about these maps online, that this has nothing to do with party. In fact, the Supreme Court submitted to the General Assembly maps in 2012, and the General Assembly adopted those maps straight from what was given to the General Assembly from the Supreme Court. And those maps were thrown out as unconstitutional, and there was a Supreme Court map, and the legislative map was together. The legislative maps were thrown out as unconstitutional, and so the Supreme Court maps were also declared null and void. For whatever reason, when the General Assembly went back and redid the legislative maps, they did not redo the appellate court maps. So why am I bringing that up? Because the Northern Kentucky district is losing the eastern side of its area under these maps: Harrison County, Robertson County, Mason, Fleming, Lewis, Bath, and Nicholas. That's 7. In the 2012 maps that the Supreme Court submitted, they lost 5 of those 7. Why are we doing 7 instead of just 5? Well, because more population changes. So anyone who says this is an attack on a particular justice or a partisan, you're indicting the Supreme Court from 2012 as well, because they submitted effectively these maps. So it has nothing to do with a particular justice or a party. Anything to the contrary is nonsense. Anything said to the contrary is nonsense. So, Mr. Chairman, in a nutshell, those are the maps. I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Thank you, Representative Nemes. We have several questions here. Senator Thayer has the first question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know you've been working hard on this, Representative Nemes. I just have a question about the population disparity between the 5th and the 7th. There's a 60,000 person gap between how many people are in the 5th and the 7th. And I'm just wondering, why not consider counties like Harrison, Nicholas, Bath, Montgomery, Powell, Estill, which have been part of the 6th congressional district at various times. Why not include some of those in the Central Kentucky district to even out the population a little more?
Why not include some from the Northern Kentucky district into the Central Kentucky district?
No, from the Eastern Kentucky district, the 7th in the 5th. Because there's a
right
60,000
right
population difference between the 5th and the 7th.
So I think, Leader, the way I looked at it, and the way that Senator Stivers looked at it when we were drawing the maps, was we didn't look at it from top to bottom, although that is a legitimate way to look at it. We took the average, which is what we do for the Senate maps and the House maps, and we look at it from the average. The average is about 625,000. So when you do that, the numbers aren't as out of whack as you would suggest. So I would mention that as a preface. Now, the reason that we put it the way we did it, and I guess we could change counties around here and there, no doubt about that. But the reason we did it the way we did it is the 5th is obviously Fayette County, which is a very, very large county in Kentucky. And we wanted to make sure that the Central Kentucky district had as much of the culture of the Central Kentucky district as possible, but it couldn't get too many counties because all these counties are very large. Franklin County, over 50,000. Woodford County 27,000, 57,000 in Scott County, 21 in Bourbon, 37 in Clark, 93 in Madison County. Jessamine County has 53, and Fayette County has 323. So all those counties are large. And when you make one shift, it has a domino effect. One might not understand this. I know we do here because we've recently drawn a lot of maps. One has domino effects if you move one county in various districts. It's not just the two that you're trading from. So, I mean, we could be trading, a county here and there, no doubt about it. There are other ways to draw this map, but this is the map that we reached an agreement on.
I'm well aware, and as I hear opponents to various maps, people complaining about maps. There are 1,000 different ways you can draw maps, and no one's ever going to be satisfied with it. I just wish you would have included a couple of more Central Kentucky counties, because now you make it very unlikely that anybody outside of Lexington can ever be elected to the Supreme Court from Central Kentucky. And since I live in one of those counties, that's a big county.
Right.
I just don't like how the 5th is tilted towards someone from Lexington pretty much all the time.
Right. And Mr. Leader, I don't know, with Lexington effectively being half of the population, 323,000. So however you draw it, with 625 being the average, however you draw it, Lexington is going to dominate that.
It's always going to be half. But it's just 60. There's a 60,000 person discrepancy between the 5th and the 7th.
Well, let me suggest this to you, Senator.
You could have taken some of those counties away from the 7th, put them in the 5th, and gotten closer to the 625 average for both.
I think that's right. But let me suggest to you, if you do that, that would mean reducing population in the 5th, which would mean that Lexington would dominate the 5th even more.
No, that's not what I suggested. What I suggested was adding some of the other
north.
Central Kentucky counties in the 7th, like Harrison, Nicholas, Bath, Montgomery. Those are Central Kentucky counties, and they're in an Eastern Kentucky appellate and Supreme Court district.
I understand.
I need to be on the record on behalf of being swamped by Fayette County for those of us who live in Central Kentucky, which we don't always enjoy, by the way.
Senator Schroeder has a question.
Thank you, Representative. If you would, you went through this, and I appreciate that you did. I have the sheet that was provided that I appreciate with the population summaries of what this will do. If you could just maybe a little slower for me as
Okay.
I'm trying to jot down, because I only got 3. But let's just, for the sake of everyone listening or watching, if you could just district by district,
Yes.
please tell me the
What I'll do, Senator, to make it very clear, I'll say what it was and what it is now.
That'd be great.
Is that fair?
That'd be awesome.
Okay, in the first district, that is, and I'll say the biggest counties in the district so everybody will understand. That's the McCracken-Davis district, and I don't mean any disrespect to any other counties. Please don't hear that. It went from 525,766 people to 622,860 people. The second district, which is largely Warren County, Hardin County, Bullitt County, went from 677,608 people to 611,342. The third district, which is Laurel, Pulaski, Nelson, went from 582,804 people to 610,033. The fourth district, which is Louisville, which probably doesn't matter for our purposes, is now at 782,969. I don't know what it was before. I mean, it was the same, obviously, now. I don't know what it was when they created it, but it's not changing, so it's the same amount currently. The fifth district, which is the Central Kentucky district, went from 738,160 to 661,053. The sixth district, which is our Northern Kentucky district, I'll say the most important county there would be Oldham, Mr. Chairman. Seeing as how I represent Oldham County, that's the Northern Kentucky district. It went from 722,639 to 616,695. The seventh district, which is our Mountain district, went from 475,890 to 600,884.
So, Representative, did you present this, or is this from LRC? Or?
It's from LRC.
Okay. The only reason I asked was because the numbers unless I heard wrong, the current population on the second, this says is 605, 907. I think is that
Okay.
different from what you
I
said?
need to make I think I know the answer, the reason
Okay.
for that. So in the house maps that were initially put together, we had 3 counties that were different than the ones that you were considering on this, because we had a committee substitute,
Okay.
or it was a floor amendment, excuse me.
Okay.
So, and let me tell you the reason for it, and I'll tell you the 3 counties that are involved. Jeff Taylor is a Court of Appeals judge. He's been a Court of Appeals judge for 19 years. Very, very fine judge. Any lawyer who's practiced, Morgan McGarvey can tell you, Senator McGarvey can tell you, anyone who's practiced for the Court of Appeals, Senator Wheeler, knows that Jeff Taylor is a very smart and thorough judge. He lives in Ohio County. I've always known him to live in Davis County, so I don't know how recently he's moved. But he's moved to Ohio County, and we couldn't make a district where Davis would stay in the second. But once we learned that he lived in Ohio County, the representative from Ohio County came to me 2 mornings ago and told us that we could make the change. And we wanted to make the change, and here's why. Because it didn't mess with the populations much, and he was the only judge that would have been affected in this way. He's elected in the second district. His county would go to the first district. And so there's already 2 Court of Appeals judges in the first district, I think, that are running for re-election. So he would have to run against his colleagues. Not the end of the world. It happens if it has
Right,
to happen.
right.
But you try to minimize that. So what we did, Senator, and I think this is probably the reason for the discrepancy, is we moved Hancock County and Ohio County back into the second. Hancock County's population is 9,095. Ohio County's population is 23,772. And in return, we put Logan County from the second to the first, and that population is 27,432. So it's not person for person. That's probably the reason for the distinction.
Understand. And then pretty much same question, I believe on the 6, on this sheet, the current or with this passage, the population is listed as 616, 695, and I think that was different.
That's, if I said differently, I didn't mean to. That's what I have.
Okay.
If I
Great.
said differently, I apologize.
No, maybe I misheard. Other question is relating to, let's see here, and on page 2 of the bill, you deal with the filing deadline and needing to push that back, and I see the first, second, and 6 mentioned, and Representative, if you would remind me, I know they're staggered, but I don't necessarily remember how they're staggered. So it was brought to my attention earlier, someone had mentioned they thought that the 4th district needed to be included in that.
Yeah, we've had a discussion about that. I don't think it needs to be included. I don't think it's necessary that it's included, because we did pass the bill that the governor signed yesterday that includes everybody, including Court of Appeals and Supreme Court justices. Also, the 4th is not being changed as the others are. However, if the Senate would like to have an amendment to put the 4th in there, it's a belt and suspenders approach. I don't think it's necessary, but it might be helpful. So whatever is your body's pleasure would be fine with the House.
Well, I would defer to our leadership on this, and I know since we're off the floor, it's too late for a floor amendment, so we would need to do a committee substitute, I believe. So I would defer to what the wills of leadership are, but it was brought to my attention earlier. So I appreciate that.
Before we go to any other questions, I just want to draw attention to what Representative Nemus just mentioned. The colored map in your packet is not correct. The one that we have, Ohio County and Hancock County's been moved to the second district. Logan's been moved to the first district, correct?
That's right. I do believe the map on the, and I'm looking right now, the map on the
LRC website.
LRC website is accurate.
Okay, good. All right. Senator Wheeler has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Representative Nemus, I know you really have made a great effort on these maps to try to make them as fair as possible and as representative of the populations and I guess what you might call the cultural diversity of the various regions of Kentucky. I do think it is very important that we have a court that understands all of the geographic regions and cultures of Kentucky, and I think that you have attempted to preserve this in this map. One question I did have, I think, and I've had some prior discussions about this with you before I've seen this bill. I think it was initially proposed that the justices would be running in appellate court judges in the old districts this election, and then these would not take effect until I think it was 2020.
2024 will be the next election.
2024. And now, is it my understanding, are they taking effect immediately? Is that correct?
They are.
And what was the thought process on that exactly?
So let me say, quick. It also deals with a point Senator Schroeder made. And so every judge in the Court of Justice, and that includes 7 justices and 14 Court of Appeals judges, is up for election this next year, except for 3 justices. That's a historical anomaly because our high court used to just be 4 judges. How unwise was that? But at some point we made it 7, an odd number. And so we were 4 elected at the same time, and then 1 in 24, 1 in 26, 1 in 28, and then 4 again in 30. So just to let you know that. All Court of Appeals judges are elected in this coming year and then again in 2030. It's 8-year term, as you know, nonpartisan.
Yeah.
Okay, so I thought it would be better to not have it start until 2024. I think that was the position that I still hold. I would like that, but I understand the argument and I understand why we're doing it this way. And the reason we're doing it this way is I believe that the maps that we have now are unconstitutional. I don't think anyone who's not self-interested can look at these population numbers and the requirements of the Constitution to make an argument to the contrary. And really, what we would be doing if we delayed this to 24. And I want to do it because these guys, these men and women are my friends. But if we do delay, and I think it would be, and I don't think it's unreasonable to do it, but if we do it, we're effectively giving the legislature's imprimatur for another decade to unconstitutional Supreme Court maps. So that's the reason that we decided to do it. It was not an easy decision to make. I don't think anybody who was at the table wanted to make that decision, but we feel like we have to. In a similar way, a lot of us want to run in our House districts and Senate districts. I love my House district. I'm losing Douglas Hills, for example. I don't want to lose Douglas Hills, but the Constitution requires that we do it. And in a similar way, we're looking at the Supreme Court maps and saying it's time to do it now. Because if we don't do it now, it's not like delaying it for 2 years. It's delaying it until 2030 effectively.
And I do understand that reasoning. I personally agree with you as far as the delay, but obviously we all have an opinion, and I guess the majority of folks disagree with us on that. But I do appreciate your efforts. I know, like you said, Madison County was originally included in the concern amongst members of the Mountain Bar that might dilute, a culture that we. That I think is a very important influence and voice on the Supreme Court. So I do appreciate that you took that into account. I know that, but in taking into account, it also makes it a larger district. But, as you stated, these are difficult decisions. We got to come to a place that it's fair and constitutional. And I just want to state that I personally appreciate your efforts to bring balance to our elected Supreme Court so thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. I want to say one thing real quick about your district. I don't know what's in the water over there, but it's not just about balance. You've got Justice Conley, Judge Thompson, and Judge Combs, who are the
Great
finest
people.
judges in the state.
Yes.
So we are sending some really good judges to the appellate court from Eastern Kentucky.
Yes, we are. I agree with you 100%.
Thank you, and I appreciate some of the comments and some of the numbers here. And as I was looking at this 61,000 vote disparity between 5 and 7, I was thinking some of the same things on which counties we should have swapped similar in a 1-2 fashion. But I really want to come to the question of compactness, because as I read the Constitution, that's actually one, if not the primary factor that we need to focus on. I haven't heard anything about that. Now, I do agree in some of these cases, it's about as compact as you can get, but specifically, Spencer County does stick out, but I understand if it's a population situation, number 2 here, it's 605, so it's quite a ways off the median, considering the fact Spencer County is not actually that big anyway. And Metcalfe County, for example, is quite small. It's like 10,000 or something. So I'm trying to get figured out how many different versions of maps did you go through before we kind of landed on this one, and how did this one get to be maybe your favorite or that came forward? Because another factor I'm looking at in the Mountain Caucus doesn't have Harlan, Bell, Knox, Laurel, Whitley. I mean, there's a number of Appalachian counties that could have been included, and this balance may have happened differently. I don't know.
Yeah, Spencer County does stick out. And in the whole map, if you look at it, that's the one that sticks out the most. that it was a population decision. It's around big areas, and so that was the reason for that. How many maps do we consider? About 20. I mean, a lot. If you change one map, it really has a ripple effect, as you know. I think you've drawn your own maps. And so we looked at a bunch of them. So our considerations were, let's get it right under the Constitution first and foremost. Then secondary considerations were, let's keep districts as they've existed historically as intact as possible. Not perfectly, can't do that, and also to respect the regions as much as we can. We don't want all of our justices to come from Louisville and in Lexington, the Bluegrass. As much as I'm from Louisville, it wouldn't break my heart. We don't want that. And our founders had a good decision, which is we run from districts. If we all ran statewide, maybe all of them would come from one particular area. That's not good. So we wanted to respect the spirit of the decision that our founders made when they set up the Supreme Courts. I would say, with respect to compactness, put this map up against any other map. Put it up against the map that currently exists, not even close. Put it up against the map the Supreme Court submitted in 2012. Put it up against our congressional map. Put it up against any map, and this map sticks out as something that we can be very, very proud of.
I do agree with that, and thanks for your comments and work on this.
Very good. Any other questions or comments? We have a motion and a second. Hold on just a second. We are going to stand at ease just a second here while we check with staff to address Senator Schroeder's concern. It may be 10 minutes or 10 minutes or so before we get to it. So stand at ease. I apologize for those that are trying to get out of here and get back home, but we need to correct this and make this right. So stand at ease for a few minutes.